So, hello everyone. Nice to see the room so full. Very nice. It has been a year. Last year we showed the first time the application proxy, the Azure AD application proxy at TechEd North America in Houston. Who was there in the room? Oh, quite a few. So we made a long way since. I'm standing here today. We are 6 months after GA. It's not only ready preview. And we have customers actually using it mission critically. We have a couple of organizations out there in the world that are, that are depending on the solution. So it's very nice to be here and show you what we have done over the last year and since, and hope to get you on board as well. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Meir Mendelovich. I'm running the PM for the application proxy team. I would explain a bit what the team is doing in general, more than just the Azure AD application proxy. I'm in Microsoft for a while, and most of this time I'm dealing with the remote access issues. So I worked in the past with UEG, TeamG, Direct Access, and all the solutions that we currently have. So I have lots of scars here on the back. So let's start to talk about remote access, and let's try to look at how the picture is in the grand scheme of things. So somewhere around 1990s, where old people like me were around, we had this ideal world where all your employees were using their desktop machines that you provided them inside your corporate network, accessing applications that were inside your corporate network. Life was happy, yeah? All of us really remember how messy it was, but in that sense, it was nice. It was coherent, stuff like that. And then slowly came these other devices. It started with people who want to access stuff from their home PCs, and then we had these laptops coming more and more into the organization, and then tablets, and hey, people want to work from phone? Strange idea. Who wants that? And we have more and more and more of these devices. And not only we have more of them, they are so different. We have so many of them from different operating systems. God forbid. You know that people like to use, for some scenarios, devices that are not running Windows? So what are we doing with all these devices? People not only are using these devices, they actually want to be productive. And I heard so many cases where the first person to bring this into the organization is the CEO. So we need somehow to solve this. The initial response of everyone said, OK, this is just an extension of the problem we had before. So why not treat them as they are inside our corporate network? Let's solve just this problem. Let's put a nice bubble around these devices and hook them up into the corporate network. And this is called a VPN. So this is the idea of the VPN. You basically take these devices, you trust them a lot, and then you let them do whatever they do, which is nice. It has two problems, this thing. One is it is potentially, and in most cases, very insecure solution. And yes, I know that the VPN companies would bring you a bunch of security solutions and management, and they will tell you deploy NAC and SHMAC and all these kinds of stuff, and hook them up together, and download this VPN client that work with this kind of management, and theoretically, everything could work fine. Theoretically. Theoretically, I am in control on where these devices are getting within my organization. Theoretically, because in practice, you open this IP address, that IP address, and this IP address, and in the end of the day, your entire organization is open. At the end of the day, usually, in most of the customers that I'm talking to, if you're getting through the VPN, you can do anything you want. And if you read the news like I do, you see that in most of the cases of breaches, high-profile breaches that were recently, VPN access was involved in that way or the other. And in all these cases, once they got access to the VPN, they were free to do whatever they want. So this is one way to solve that. This is maybe the old way to solve that. Another new idea, innovative idea that I heard recently going through is this idea. Why not we take these on-prem applications and just put them on the internet? Come on, guy, what could be complex in that? Usually you hear it from Silicon Valley whiz kids that that think for them like, rewrite your applications to claim, nah, that's nonsense. And we know that in the reality, this is very complex. This is very complex, one, because to change these applications, sometimes you don't have the admin working in the company anymore. So to harden them and to change the authentication mechanisms and to plug stuff into them, it's impossible. Let's find who can install this plugin that runs in with this version with that thing. So this is very strange idea. The second thing is, of course, this is not secure because we are not used to have these kinds of stuff. We want to reduce the attack surface, not to enlarge it. I actually met a company that tried to do something like that, and they of course, they squashed it after the pen test, managed to get an email from the CIO. It's not that there was something insecure there was simply someone installing stuff he shouldn't on the same server. Theoretically, they hardened the email correctly. But someone else put something else on one of the servers. So not many companies doing that as well. So the traditional paradigm that we see, it started in the 90s, but in recent years it's really taking up, is the reverse proxy paradigm. Some call this SSL VPN, but I don't like this term because it has duality to other things. And we, as Microsoft, have solutions in market for a while that are doing exactly that. So it's 4-front UEG and 4-front TMG. And now I have, you must, in every Ignite show, ask the people to raise their hands. How many of you have UEG or TMG in your organization? For people listening to this session recorded, everyone actually said. Raise their hand. That's a good time to mention that my team also in charge of maintaining them. But we announced them as end of life. Actually, it was last month where the official date came through. And the reason for that is that we struggled a lot to keep them modern, to keep them current. And it was a very hard thing to do. It was a very hard thing to do because, for one, there were solutions that we started back in the 1990s. And they suffered from everything, every code base, everything that you find where it evolves over the year, it is different. Another thing is that everything around them changed. We have now scripting languages like PowerShell. We have all the goodies that you have in Windows Server. We have now very, very good authentication servers doing stuff like ADFS is doing. So keeping the old stuff in this new world didn't make sense. So we created web application proxy. And because we wanted to make it easy for everyone, and because we want to break the silos that were here, this is part of a bigger story. It is part of Windows Server. It is a role inside Windows Server. And it comes hand in hand with ADFS. So we don't, in Microsoft, in the past, we had like 7 or 8 different ways for user to type username password. So we are reducing that. There is one way now. That's ADFS if you're using the on-prem solution. But the world keeps evolving. And by the way, one thing to say about that, we keep evolving this solution. We believe in reverse proxy. This is a good thing. In Windows Server 2020, the next version of Windows Server, the one that was announced as a preview earlier this week, we have a new version of Web Application Proxy with many, many new features in it. So if you go to our blog, which I give you a link at the end of this session, You can see the exact details about this version and about many new features that we are adding there. But the world keeps on changing, and we need to stick with it. And the main thing that's coming is now we have these SaaS applications. We have these applications running in the cloud, and usually these applications come together with a directory. They are coming together with a directory that contains all our users, and it is synced from our on-prem directories. So now we can do things that are much better. And we can provide service that is much stronger than what we did in the past. Because now your users are already there. You have your users object there. You have the SaaS applications there. Why not connecting them? And this is the Azure AD application proxy. The important thing about this slide is that we have two paths. And we allow you, as a company, to have both of them. We don't tell you, have one new solution we have solution for the clouds, dump or everything you have on-prem, or vice versa. We are offering both solutions and let you be in control of what you want to deploy, of where you want to go. If your organization is moving to the cloud, and you should at least start doing so, you have Azure AD Application Proxy, which provides you a great solution, and we would focus on that for the rest of the session. But if your organization is still on-prem and you cannot see yourself going to the cloud in the near future, we have a solution, and this is not a dead solution. Another thing about this slide, I try to picture it somehow, to give it a graphical representation somehow, is the fact that the cloud solution is not just a replication of the on-prem solution. So it's not like we took the on-prem solution, we wrapped it in the VHD and put it in the cloud. The cloud solution is designed for the cloud. It is designed for the scale. It is designed for the experience that we all expect to have for a cloud service. And you would see that throughout the demos that I would show. And we, by the way, we use some of the same code. So I told you that we are part of a bigger story. And the bigger story is the enterprise mobility. If you look at each part of enterprise mobility, if you just look at identity, or if you just look at access or remote access, you are getting into these silo products, like UEG and TeamG in a sense were. They did very good what they did, but when you try to connect them to all the other solutions, it was a very hard thing to do. So we look at things now more holistically. We look at enterprise mobility as the connection between devices, applications, and data that are used by your users and controlled by you, by the IT department. So this is our view of the world. And we have a bunch of solutions that are part of that. I'm working on the identity and access. This is the application proxy part of that. But we cannot ignore the other parts. I will not drill in this session on them. There are other sessions in Ignite. But for example, information protection. You saw the demo in the keynote where Brad Anderson is sending this email. And it is highly protected and secure. So instead of doing like other vendors, they create these sandboxes. They tell you this sandbox is secure. You can put anything there. But if you leave the sandbox, you're out of the go. And everything is not encrypted. In this kind of solution that we are providing, we are protecting the things that it is important to protect, which is the files, which is the actual data. And we are doing this in a very robust way. And that works hand in hand with the remote access. Because you now are more confident. You can allow people to access more stuff. Another thing, of course, is quite obvious, is the device management. We said that we let access for devices. And this is, of course, working hand in hand with the remote access. And we would see that. So let's get back to remote access. What are the benefits of moving this to be a cloud service? What are the benefits of the cloud service versus the on-prem world? So first of all, there is like everything as a service paradigm. You know, you had infrastructure as a service, you had platform as a service, and now, in a sense, we have remote access as a service. And we can expect from this remote access to have all the virtues of the other things. So for example, it is very easy to deploy. It is very quick to deploy. We would see during this session, we would go to a company that doesn't have anything, any remote access, we would deploy that. And let me make a small spoiler here. You guys are going to connect to that as well. So we are going to go from 0 to 100 within a session. This is something not possible in the past. And we are doing that in large scale, and we are keep the service current, and all the goodies that you expect from a service. So theoretically, even if you don't have anything other to do with Azure Active Directory, this makes sense. There is a TCO just for remote access. But I don't know any company that started with that and stopped there. Any company, anyone that touched with that, get the power of Azure Active Directory and want to use it for all the stuff. So the other way to look at it is that if you have an Azure Active Directory investment, then we extend this to the on-prem. So some vendors say, if you have something in the cloud, it would be shiny, it would be beautiful, it would be like for the millennials to use, you would have everything. But for your old stuff, keep that out there. We don't want to hear about that. Forget about self-service and all the things that you expect. So what we are doing here, we are turning Azure Active Directory into a one-stop shop. We are turning Azure Active Directory into the same thing that manages your shiny new applications, the thing that manages your SaaS, the new SaaS applications with all the new technologies, and we still let you use your old applications, the legacy applications, within Azure Active Directory. So now your users have one place to look for applications to use. They have one way to ask to authenticate themselves and to authorize themselves for a new application. And you as an IT admin have a single place to see the entire organization. And we would see the benefits of that. So how this magic is working? So here we have a diagram that shows you like an organization that is down there. And we have the service and the devices. So the first step, we put connectors. These connectors allow us to get connectivity, network connectivity. So we do magic, but we still have physics to take care of. And these connectors, you can install one of them, two of them, as many of them as you want. You can install them on the same machines as the applications. You can install them on different machines if you don't want to touch anything. And you don't need to load balance them. They load balance themselves. So you have all these benefits in using these connectors. They are very easy to deploy. And I told you that we are reusing the stuff we do on-prem. The connectors are actually web application proxy that is packaged differently. Of course, this is completely hidden from you. The only place where you can see that is that we have the same event log, we have the same performance counter, and all the things that some of you came to learn and love from web application proxy. So the first thing that these connectors are doing, they are hooking to the cloud service. Everything that the connectors are doing is from the inside of the organization to the cloud service. There is nothing coming inside. That means that you don't need to change the DMZ. You don't need to open inbound port. So instead of a process of 6 months, now we can do this in a day. Just because of that reason. And we are doing this in a highly secure way. When you install the connectors, you are registering them to the service. And in this process, there is an exchange of certificates. So everything that goes on between the connectors and the application proxy service is now encrypted in two-way certificate. And this certificate is renewed all the time, and we have all bunch of everything you expect to have for solutions like that is there. So now all we need to know is what is the internal URL and what is the external URL. And we provide you a URL that we managed. It has a nice suffix called msappproxy.net. And yes, I was the one approving this name. And we provide this name, and we are the one that do all the DNS setting for this name, and we are the one issuing certificates for this name. So if you don't want to do anything, you have this name up and running in 5 minutes, as we would start to do. But you still have the option also to use your name. This is something new. We added it to the system only about a month ago. And I would show you how easy it is to do. But you would have to take care about the DNS settings, some of them, and you would have to take care about the SSL certificate to renew it and all that stuff. This is magic we cannot do, like to issue a certificate on your behalf. So now, when a user device is sending the request, we know where this request is coming to which application, and we can make the rendezvous. We use all this piping, all this networking, to get the user session up to the application and in reply back. And all of this process happens instantaneously. And we keep and do this over and over and over again. Now, I promised to talk about the benefits of the cloud and the benefits of having this huge service up there. So let's look at the numbers. Don't take my word for that. And I challenge every other vendor in the market to come with numbers so amazing. We are talking about between 1 billion to 2 billion authentications per day. This is huge. Think about it. In our lowest traffic days, we are doing 1 billion authentication. Not million, billion. For the people from the other side of the Atlantic, milliard. Amazing number. And we have 4.9 organizations that are using that, this authentication mechanism. Now, you might wonder, where are these people coming from? Any idea? Office 365. Every time you log into Office 365, or you have an Outlook client that is authenticated into Office 365, you are authenticated through Azure Active Directory. And we have a bunch of applications there. And we have tons of identities there. And what we are taking, all this richness, all this power, all this muscle for your application. So we are taking this application that's developed in your organization sometimes in the past or was deployed many years ago. We take this smaller application and we put it on the ocean of the internet. And we are not guarding it with one battleship. We are not guarding it with a group of battleships. Not even with an aircraft carrier. We have a flotilla of carriers around you. So your application is surfing the ocean, and you have all this richness around it, protecting it. We don't want your application, anything bad to happen to your application. And in fact, we are enriching it. So things like multi-factor authentication that used to take years to deploy, that were super expensive in the past, we are doing now with the flip of a switch, and we would see that. We have Portal for you, and we have a whole bunch of things that are available for you. Think about the last item here is about the reporting and auditing and and the big data analysis. I know very few deployments of remote access that have something even much simpler than what we have. Because we are this huge muscle, we can provide you this thing. So I take you back to the keynote. I don't know if we have time to see that, about like finding anomalies of users login from different locations around the world in very few hours. You remember Brad Anderson showing that? Now you have this for your on-prem applications. So let's see this in work. And let me welcome all of you to the amazing company, Contoso 55. Now, it is an amazing company not only because I'm running it, but because we are going to deploy a very good remote access solution. So Contoso 55 is now running from an Azure VM. So one of the goals of this demo is that I want you to be able to replicate everything I'm doing at home. Okay? No hooks, nothing special here, nothing private. Everything you would be able to replicate afterward. So Contoso 55 is basically an Azure VM that tries to mimic your corporate network. And we have here this nice application. It's an ASP.NET application. It is very simple because a PM wrote it, which is me. And you see, it is running on top of HTTP, and it's using this short name, Sales App. What it would take me to put this on the internet and to let all the hundreds of people in this room ping it in how much time? About 10. Yeah, I think that less than 10 minutes. Let's see that. So I would copy-paste this URL, and I would go back to my Azure tenant. So here is my Azure tenant. I did few preparations, and it is important for me that you would understand what I did before I started this demo. And the slides include more details about what I did here. So you would be able to replicate that as well. So first of all, I created new Azure AD tenant. I went here, did Active Directory, and created a new one. Very simple process. You can create as many of them as you want on your Azure AD subscription. And then you go and you create users. You can create as many users as you want. Now, of course, when you have a real deployments, you would sync these users from your on-prem AD. But at least for demo purposes or for proof of concept, you can create these users, like I did, in the cloud. And do them. We have here Dean, the IW, the information worker that we would use as a user. And we have Sarah and Laura, which are the IT admins. And we have myself as the one that is running this puppet show. I started a bunch of groups. We have sales team, and we have this new Fabricam task force that we are going to show you. And the last but definitely not least thing that you have to do is that you have to go to the licenses tab. And you have to do two things there. One thing, you can request a 90-day Azure AD Premium trial from this. So you have, this tenant, of course, I did it in advance, but you would see there a link. You click on the link. You have to wait for about 15 seconds, and you have your AD Premium subscription on your behalf. It is a good place to mention that this feature, the application proxy, is part of AD Premium, and also part of AD Basic licenses. And AD Premium is part of the bigger suite. So Enterprise Mobility Suite includes AD Premium, and Enterprise Mobility Suite itself is part of this big enterprise cloud. Wow, the marketing guys would kill me that I don't remember. Enterprise Cloud Suite, ECL, I think. So EMS is Enterprise Mobility Suite. And this suite is included in a bigger suite. So you can get the AD Premium for all the different places. So now, but just getting the licenses is not good enough. You see, I have here 100 active units. I need to assign them to users. And I also need to assign them to the user that is currently active, the admin. So you can see that I assigned to Meir M at Microsoft, which is my user, this license. This is a very common mistake we see. We see people assigning licenses to everyone but themselves, and then when things are not working. OK, so I've done that. And again, if you go to the slides, you can see all these steps. Just let me show you the slides so you would know to get back. Here's the list. So you can do that. Last thing I forgot. I also registered verified the contoso55.com domain. If I haven't done that, I could use like the own Microsoft.com domain. That's also working very well. But to have a nicer demo, I registered that one. So what we need to do now is very simple. We are going and adding this new application. So in Azure Active Directory, we have 3 types of applications. We have the application that you are developing. We have a gallery of SaaS applications that is there for you. And we have the proxy application right here. So when I click on it, I need to provide very little information. So just to give it a name, so let's call it Contoso Sales Track. And this name cannot contain special characters. And we need to provide the internal URL. Here we have the option to do pre-authentication, which type of pre-authentication we want to use. So we have Azure Active Directory, which means that every user is authenticated to Azure Active Directory before they can use the application, or pass-through, which means we publish the application, but everyone that have the URL can get access to the actual application. It's actually very useful for several scenarios. So if you know NDES, the device registration service, if you know CRL, we have customers that is publishing the internal CRL, certificate revocation list on that. So this is possible. This is there for you. And if you are using password, you can also use HTTP and not HTTPS. Sorry? Yes, if you're using password, it would not ask for authentication. You just go there. So for any kind of or if you just want to publish an API or anything like that, that's also a good thing. So now we have this application. The first step I need to make is to enable the application proxy. You need to do this only once from the first application that you publish. And we have this for you as a kind of like a big knob that if you feel insecure for any reason, you can always turn this off and shut down the entire application proxy. If you have like problems on your CorpNet and you need now to shut everything down, you have a way to do that. And then I need to download the connector. And I can do it from here, but I already done that. And we have here, inside my machine, inside the CorpNet, I would install the connector. So the connector is an MSI, is an application file, executable, that I run here. I need to approve that. And now it installs all the bits and bytes that you need to have. And it is also doing now the registration to the cloud service. So it generates certificates and do the exchange between them. So now I need to register the service. I need to prove that I am an admin in this tenant. So I would log in here as Sarah, which is an admin in Contoso 55. And I would use Sarah's password. Now, two things important about this user. One, this user has to be global admin in your tenant. Right now, we allow only global admin to do that. The second thing is that it has to have a domain that is associated to your tenant. So I cannot register here with my Microsoft.com account because the service would not know which tenant to register it to. So I just sign in. And now there is the exchange and registration. And another thing that happens now is that it also installs the updater. So this is a one-time thing. You don't need to get to this machine ever again. You don't need to change anything. OK. You don't need to install it again, and you don't need to update it, because we also install an updater service. So let's see how this is looking. If you go to the services, you now have here the connector and the connector updater. And the updater goes to the service all the time and check if there is a new connector. And because the certificates are stored within your store certificate, once we switch the bits, you are on again, and you don't need to go. You don't need to do anything interactive. So that allows us, when we add new features and when we find bugs in the service, to push it to everyone. This is super important. This allows us to keep you evolved and updated. In the future, we would offer options like slowing and fastering to keep you safe and make sure that you are that everything is up and running. But even right now, the update service takes a few seconds, and you are good to go. So now I have this thing, and basically in this point in time, I can forget about this machine. I don't need it anymore. I don't need to do anything. I can do everything from the cloud. So now I go to the cloud, to Azure Active Directory, and there is the last step here, to assign users. And an important concept of reverse proxies that we insist of maintaining is the fact that we are always whitelist oriented. If you don't tell us to do something, we are not doing that. So until you tell us which users are allowed to have access to the service, we don't let anyone in. And until you tell us to publish a specific application, we don't publish anything else. And this is like completely different than how you do VPNs, where you do blacklist, which is basically you have everything open, then you start to decide what it's not available. So let's see what groups I want. I can do authorization based on users. I can do authorization based on groups. So I would choose the sales team, and I would assign them to use that. And by the way, if I look now on the users, I see that we have all these people that are assigned to this application via the sales team. And we'll see how powerful it is in a second. Now, let's see this in action. Let's see that this is actually working. So now I'm opening a new browser window. I go to myapps.microsoft.com, which is the new portal. You can use that. You can also, it's just one of the ways, and we would see others to get to this application. So now I sign in as Dean. I would type the user, the password. I would get here. And now I get my portal. And my portal now have Office 365. And it has SaaS application, Salesforce in this case. And now I have my application. So now I click on that, and I get to this on-prem application with single sign-on going back and forth. Et voila. Thank you very much. So I guess some of you have been to more than one Microsoft show, and you know that sometimes we have nice slides and we have nice demos that we make them work somehow, but usually there is a gap between this and the real world. And what I want you to prove it to you is that this is the real thing. So what we would do now, I would ask you to become our testers and to be able to test this thing, to see that this is a real solution. You see that you get a real cloud scalability, and we would see what falls first, the service or the Wi-Fi in this room. What do you think? So take out your phones, your laptops, your iPads, your Surfaces, your Android, whatever you have. Someone have here Apple Watch? I never seen that working for Apple Watch. That would be fun thing to see. So take the thing, go to myapps.microsoft.com, and the username is Dean, D-E-A-N, at contoso55.com, and type password1, exclamation mark. When password is all small caps, 1 and exclamation mark. To people listening to the recording, I would try to keep this up and running at least a few weeks after the show here. I don't promise anything. This is like a demo tenant for us. We are doing a bunch of things with Contoso 55. But I would try to keep this up and running. So there is I would take a few questions, and then we would see.
I have a quick question before I do that. Is there a way to change the icon for my homegrown applications?
Oh, you know, I would say it's a wonderful question because I have a slide on that, and this is under the slides coming up next.
I got +1 on that.
+1 on the icon. Okay, yes. So I know that it is highly requested, and we are working that. I know that sometimes things look very simple, and people tell us, why are you not doing that? And tell you the truth, to the engineers, I said the same thing. I know that they are not listening. And the reality is that when you do things in large scale, and when you want to be sure that everything is working correctly, even small UI stuff takes time. Yes?
I understood that Intune's iOS client now has per app VPN functionality. Does that use the same application proxy, or is that something?
So there is a question about the per app VPN. So Intune supported because customers ask for that, and that's a different solution. It's not us. It's not that. It's a VPN. It's not. It is a better VPN than having like this wide open VPN, but still you need to deploy all this stuff there.
So this new web application proxy in Azure, is this removing currently how you have the WAF in your DMZ that communicates directly with your ADFS on-prem, so you can eliminate that portion, and it'll just do a first proxy to Azure? How does that communicate?
So the question was if we can eliminate the on-prem web application proxy. The short answer is yes. The long answer is that there is still some parity. For example, you need the web application proxy to do the ADFS publishing. So if you don't have ADFS, and then you can throw that away. I would take another question, and meanwhile we would see how much you are doing. What's the counter saying? Let's refresh the page. Okay, we have. That's it? 47? Come on. This room have almost 600 seats, and we are almost full. So you can do better. And click on the refresh. Come. Yes, I will take another.
Would this Azure application proxy work with on-premise RDS/VDI?
Okay, so this is another question from working on that slide. So the question is if we support remote desktop services. We saw some versions that are working and some are not. And we actually saw customers that actually did that. but it is not clean way, and we are working to make this up and running and a good service. We are focusing on web applications, SharePoint, OWA, all your line of business, and all the others. Yes?
I think of this as web pages rather than web applications. But what I want to know is, what if it's an actual app? Meaning, I have SharePoint on-prem, which is only accessible internally. I want to publish that to the outside world, but instead of using a browser on a mobile device, I want to develop an application or use one of the existing applications to access that over HTTPS. Thinking about that, not?
Yeah, so we are definitely thinking about that, and we are making a progress. First of all, without pre-authentication, you can do pass-through. So everything that is HTTP, you can publish in pass-through. But we want to make it better and more secure. So we are also working on a way to do pre-authentication for rich clients in a very, very secure way. Stay tuned. We have more coming. We have a whole team working on stuff. So we have very little time and a lot of demos, so I want to carry on. I would take question. I would try to take question afterwards, and the clock is ticking here. So let's see a little bit more. So this is the basic scenario. What I would do now, I would show you a couple of optional things that you can do with the service as it is without making any substantial investment. So let's try, but going back to this access panel. So you see, I have a bunch of things here. And I have a bunch of applications. So let's go to Office 365. I guess that the average user in many of your companies is seeing Office. Come on. No. Ah, you guys are clicking on it. Thank you very much. You know what's the good thing? I have a backup slide. So actually, you saw a security feature now. Okay. So what I wanted to show you, if you haven't DDoS my tenant, is the fact that you can put these SaaS applications into Office 365 App Launcher. When every page in Office 365 have this App Launcher on the top left corner, or top right corner if you are an RTL user. And in this thing, you have the My Apps. You see the small link there? And when you click on that, it shows you not only your Office 365 icons, but also you can see there now all the applications of Azure Active Directory, including this proxy application. So now I can plug my on-prem applications into Office 365. This is where my users are. And I would show you why sometimes they have lots of reasons to come to the access panel of Azure Active Directory. But for most of the stuff, for the daily work, for the simple user, they don't need to leave Office 365.
So what you're saying is that on-prem applications could also be added into this
Yes. So, yep. All your on-prem applications could be added into the app launcher of Office 365. Let's see if I can get access to my tenant. So if you just click on these My Applications, and you would see them there. You don't need to do anything. We are pre-integrated. Yeah, that's it. Let's see how vigorous you are. Up, 53. I'm a little bit disappointed, but the number of views is good. So I see that some of you are clicking the refresh very hard. Good for you, good for you. So we have a bunch of other things as well here. So we have here the profile, which allow you to do self-service password reset. And this is like, there is another session just on this feature. It's a huge thing to have here. And we also have groups. And we also have self-service access to these groups. So for example, if I see this, there is like the Fabricam account task force. And I want to join this task force. But not everyone in the company, not everyone in Contoso 55 can join that. They need to ask the owner, the application owner, to do this. So I send them, please, please, please. You see my poor typing. And I send the request. And now the owner of this group, which is whoever the IT admin, your guys, decided that should own that, go to their approval page, and they click approve or not approve. So think how powerful it is when you want to manage authorization to these applications. You can delegate these capabilities to other people in your organization. You can reduce the calls to your help desk. People can do them themselves. They don't need to call the help desk to get access to applications. And we are planning to add more and more capabilities in that sense. We want to allow you to have as much self-service as you allow your users to have. You still have the control. You can still turn it off, but it's here for you to use. Last thing, here in this part, I would show you how to turn on multi-factor authentication. And I warn you, it is so simple that you would not believe me that it's the actual thing, but it is. So let's go to a user. Let's say that Laura is the admin. I would not do this to Dean, so you guys can still log in. And I have here one button saying multi-factor authentication. So I click on that, and I get to the multi-factor authentication UI, and I click on Laura, I do enable, and that's it. So now let me log in as Laura. So we sign out as Dean. Contoso55.com. I will type the password for her. And instead of getting access, Laura is now prompted. Laura is now prompted to put her phone number. She cannot get access unless she do that. So now you have to put your phone numbers and go through the verification of the phone number. And then whenever Laura is logging in, she would need to do that as well. So a process that in the past took us months to deploy. It was super expensive. We can do this in a flip of a switch for your on-prem applications. We talk a lot now about features, about the features that are highly visible, the user experience. But we definitely not take for granted the things that are hidden, the things that people cannot see, and keep you guys up at night, which is security. This is the kind of solutions that provide you better security than what you have today and not less security. And we can do this because we are running in different scale. And because we, as Microsoft, have a huge, huge force and the ability to protect your applications. So let's see the details here. First of all, we terminate all HTTP and HTTPS connections in the cloud. There isn't anything going through unless it is a valid request on layer 3 and layer 4, and some of the things in layer 7, as many as we can check. So think about bugs like the heartbleed bug. I guess that some of you were hunting for servers that have heartbleed bug. And surprise, surprise, you know that even there was a remote access solution that had this bug? It was on-prem. It was very hard to patch, and there was like a big rush to patch it. But we are taking care of that because we terminate everything there. So your applications, even if they have this bug, nothing gets to them. Next thing, unauthenticated traffic does not arrive to your applications, to your pre-authenticated applications, unless it was authenticated. And believe me, the mechanism that we have to secure authentication, they are the same mechanism for Office 365. And they assure that no one would get to your application unless they are the right person. Think about stuff like DDoS. Think about now your organization is maybe sensitive and a bunch of kids around the world think that it would be nice to DDoS it. It would not get to your own premises. Not a single packet would arrive to your company because you pre-authenticate everyone on the cloud. Unless, of course, they have the username and password and multi-factor authentication, then come on, there is a limit. Like I gave you Dean's credentials. And the next thing is about the networking pattern. We are making the corporate network more secure, not less secure. We are making the corporate network, in a sense, a vault, where nothing gets inside. Stuff only gets outside. And you know, it's not only a matter of process, it's a matter of thinking. We are reducing the attack surface on this thing. And we have one customer that is in the process of eliminate everything other than our proxy to their corpnet. And this is an amazing process. They have like a super secure. You cannot attack the corporate network because nothing gets inside. They have no inbound connection, theoretically. Very robust model. And of course, we take care about all this internet-facing stuff. And we provide you all the richness that you saw in the keynote of reporting and anomalies and auditing and all that stuff that you need for yourself, for your security admin, and for your regulators. We are there for you, and we provide you all these tools. Another thing that happens without us noticing that is the single sign-on. As you saw, this demo application, doesn't have any notion of sign-on for the application itself. And that's good. You can publish applications without single sign-on. But for some application, we provide single sign-on without rewriting them to trust Azure Active Directory, without installing anything on the service itself, the application itself. And we are doing that by using a technology that has been around for about 10, 15 years called Kerberos constraint delegation. And the trick that we are doing there is that we take the Azure AD token and we convert that in the connector to Kerberos ticket. So now from the application point of view, this is a user coming from a domain joined device that is authenticated by your on-prem AD. And nothing changed for that application. Of course, it's not all or nothing. You can have some applications work like that, some applications work without. And we are working to add more types of single sign-on for legacy applications. So over time, expect to see more and more things like that for all kinds of applications. And this way, your user would not appreciate that because when things are working, no one sends the cake to the IT department. But this thing is there underneath the hood to make sure that you get like a smooth experience. Now, you need to do the Kerberos constraint delegations configuration. I haven't shown that. But it's not it is well documented. And we are not using anything new. We are using like the same Kerberos constraint delegation that you know from TeamG, UEG, or a bunch of other solutions. Another thing another request that we had from many customers was to use your own domain name. So we had this msappproxy.net, and believe me, it took me a while to say it fluently, domain, up there, and this is up for you to use. But you can use your own domain name. So the first reason that people want to use their own domain name is just to have something that is recognized by their users. But there is another reason to do that. And the reason is that you want everything to work from remote access the same way it works on-prem. So if your organization is having FQDN inside your corporate network, all the links that you have in your organization would keep on working. So if someone is sending an email to someone else, even by pigeon mail or anything that the user suddenly now have a link, this link would keep on be working whether the user is outside or inside your corpnet. And again, it's the kind of thing that people take for granted. Hey, I clicked on the email and I got to the SharePoint site. Yeah, super easy. But we know how difficult it is. We know how much time it was almost impossible to achieve that. So let me show you how easy it is. And before doing this, I want to show you another branding mechanism that we have. So I would go here to the Configure tab in Contoso. And you notice that when the login, we show the ugly, like the generic version of the login page, which your users are not feeling very familiar with. So let's make it us. Contoso have an amazing graphic department. And this graphic department created this nice JPEG, and we want users to see that when they log in. Nice. Now let's turn the application to the Contoso 55 domain. So I go to this application here. I go to the Configure tab. And now I have the option here from the Dropbox here to select contoso55.com. And I would change this name for the very simple reason that this is the certificate that I have, salesapp.contoso55.com. Now I would get back to this in a second, to this notification, but now I save this application. And the next thing I need to do, thank you, Tim. The next thing here is to upload a certificate. Because we don't have certificates for contoso55.com. We cannot issue them. So we need you to provide them. So I have here a certificate. It is a Sun certificate. You can use simple certificates. You can use Sun. You can use wildcard, whatever is working for you. And the amazing complex password that I have on that. Now, don't tell me that you're not doing that as well. So here we are. We uploaded the certificate. And we have this binded into our stuff. And again, you see the expires on because you guys now have to replace that. In the future, and this is the reason that we have this in preview, but in the future, we would provide you also tools to be notified that you have certificate that is going to expire, and the entire experience around that. So the last thing to be done is explained here in this message, is that you have to create a CNAME in your public domain control, in your public DNS to reference it to the MSR proxy domain. So the MSR proxy domain is still there. We are still maintaining that, but now it is used only for the CNAME. If you do like a DNS query on this MSR proxy, you would see how complex it is. There are several levels, and we completely hide from you the complexities. We are deployed in multiple data centers, and we are failing over these data centers all the time and do all kinds of tricks to keep the servers up and running. So this is completely hidden using this msrproxy.net domain. And here we go. Let's see that this is working. So I would open a new browser window. But this time, instead of getting to my apps, I can go to salesapp.contoso55.com. You can do that as well, by the way. And now, when I click on that, look at the nice login page that I get. And I have something that is branded for me. My users recognize that. Now they send the cake to the IT department. Contoso55.com. You can do that as well. Don't worry. Oh. We received a bad request. Ah, okay. Maybe. Yeah? Maybe. Or maybe, and this is an option that I took it. There is an option that DIN is now locked because we identified too many requests from two different IP addresses. So I actually verified with the team. They told me that we need quite a few people to make this happen. Okay, but take my word for that. And you can try that as well. You can try it from home afterwards. So you have you have in this session also the domain name and all that stuff. So the only thing I didn't show you in this session is the SSO, how to configure the SSO. We have lots of documentation on that. I had customers asking them how you managed to configure, and said to me, you have documentation from TMG. So that's working as well. Again, we haven't done anything really special there. And we are going to publish more and more stuff, more documentation on that to help you guys in that process. Afterwards, we have very few minutes to go, and I want to capture a few things. Now, we are working very hard to add more capabilities to the service. And we are going to add these capabilities and bunch more. The main thing, we keep on hearing the request to do different UPNs, internal and external. We are working to enable that. It takes us time. We want to make sure that it's right before we turn this in. Once it would turn on, we would tell you about this in the blog, but you don't feel anything. Anything would just work. Next thing, we are working on to allow you to assign connectors to applications. So now we assume that all connectors have access to all applications. But we keep here the request, I have a bunch of applications in an IaaS server, an IaaS VNet, hopefully Azure, but we heard that there are a few that are using AWS, or Rackspace, or HP, or whatever it is, and you want to put connectors there and make sure that they are serving only the applications that are hosted there, instead of doing a VPN from your IaaS deployment to your corporate network and then to the internet, which is a little bit weird. We are, as I said, working on additional options to do single sign-on. And we are going to offer more and more control and ability for you to look at the connectors and the connector status. And actually, it's a nice feature, a new feature that we were doing. I can show it to you afterwards. Some of it is already available. And as you asked me, and I told you, we are working to make these icons customizable. And we are also working on adding more capabilities to the portal and adding more portals in more platforms and getting you better and better experience for that. So what I want you to take from here, 2 links from this session. One is the documentation. We have MSDN documentation for everything that I showed you. I see everyone taking the cameras. That's good. Tell me if the QR code is working. And you also have the slides afterwards you can download and you can take it. And if you want to keep yourself updated with what's going on with the service, with any news that we have, we put in the aka.ms/proxy blog. So you go there and you see everything new that we turn on, we tell you guys on that blog. We also have the AD team blog, which is huge one. It has lots of stuff. We post there only like every couple of months. But in this one, we tell you on anything new. We also post the links to blog posts, interesting blog posts from the internet. I would post a picture of you in this session also after I get to the speaker room. And also when we have new documentation and white papers and all that stuff. And we didn't have much time to this in this session because we had so many demos, but we want to hear your feedback as well. So you have this alias, and this alias brings you to the PM team and to the engineering managers in our team, directly to them. So don't be afraid, shoot us an email, tell us what you think. And by the way, please tell us when things are going good. Think about all the time that you as an IT admin wanted to get a chapeau or something like that. If you want to learn more about Azure Active Directory, I highly recommend, we have a bunch of sessions there. I highly recommend these 2 sessions tomorrow. And there is one session, Identity and Access Management Everywhere. This is Nassos, our fearless marketing guy. It is an amazing show. It was fully booked on yesterday, so they are doing a rerun of that tomorrow. And people that are watching the recording, you have everything recorded and you can watch it as well. But there is nothing like watching Nassos in real life. And then we also have tomorrow a very good session that shows real customer stories. They would talk there also on the proxy and all the other features of Azure Active Directory. So there are a bunch of slides here. I need to put them here so you can have like there is a way to get all these nice devices. Don't ask me how. This is only for the Azure sessions. And please fill your evaluation. And be good. This is where you get to get me cake. So, code of the session. You just here. Back one slide. Sorry. It's the same code of the session, by the way. BRK and that. And thank you very much, everyone. It was a pleasure being here. If you have more questions, feel free to come.